Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair aboard the UES Titan, watching the stars drift past the bridge windows. It was another quiet patrol in the outer rim of human space. His crew moved about their duties with practiced ease. The ship's sensors swept the empty void looking for anything unusual. Lieutenant Sam Collins turned from his communications station. "Captain, we're picking up a strange signal. It's not human, sir." Jake leaned forward in his chair. "Put it through. The speakers, Sam." Strange clicking and whistling sounds filled the bridge. The translation computer worked for several minutes before words began to form. "This is Ambassador Thera 5 of the Villani Federation. We send this message to any who will listen. Our people are dying. We need help. Please, someone help us." The bridge fell silent. Jake had never heard an alien voice before. None of them had. First contact was supposed to happen near Earth with diplomats and scientists ready. Not out here in the middle of nowhere. "Keep recording everything," Jake ordered. "And get Dr. Lisa Cameron up here right away." Dr. Cameron arrived within minutes. She was the ship's xenobiologist, though she had never expected to study real aliens. She listened to the message with wide eyes. "The translation is getting better," she said. "The computer is learning their language patterns. Listen to this." The alien voice came through again, clearer this time. "We are the Villani Federation. We are peaceful people. We have no weapons of war. The Kreks hunt us across the stars. They kill our children. They destroy our worlds. We have heard stories of the Deathworlders. We know you are dangerous, but we have nowhere else to turn. Please help us." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Deathworlders. That's what they called humans. "Doctor, what do you make of this?" he asked. Lisa shook her head. "If this is real, Captain, we're dealing with a species that has never known war. Look at how they describe themselves. Peaceful, no weapons. And they call us Deathworlders. They're afraid of us, but they're more afraid of these Kreks." More messages came in over the next hour. Each one painted a darker picture. The Villani described fleeing across 3 star systems. Billions of their people were dead. The Kreks were hunting them like animals. Jake made a decision that would change everything. "Sam, send an emergency message to Earth Command, full encryption. Tell them we have first contact with alien species, and it's not good news." The reply came back 6 hours later. Admiral Peter Collins himself was on the secure channel. "Captain Morrison, are you certain this isn't some kind of hoax?" the Admiral asked. "Sir, we've run every test we can. The signal is coming from outside human space. The technology is definitely not ours. And the math checks out. These aliens are real, and they're in trouble." Admiral Collins was quiet for a long moment. "We're sending the UES Defender to your position. Continue monitoring the signals, but Jake, be careful. If these aliens are real, then so are their enemies." Over the next few days, more distress calls arrived. The Villani shared technical data about their ships and worlds. Dr. Cameron studied everything with growing amazement. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, bringing up a holographic display. "The Villani evolved on a world with very light gravity, no major predators. Look at their bone structure. They're tall and thin, like walking sticks. Their reaction times are incredibly slow compared to ours." Jake studied the alien anatomy. "They look so fragile." "That's because they are. A human child could probably overpower an adult Villani. They've never needed to be strong or fast. Their world was paradise. And now they're being hunted by something called the Kreks. From what I can understand, the Kreks are reptilian. They view other species as either food or slaves. The Villani describe them as monsters." Lieutenant Collins interrupted them. "Captain, new message coming in." "This one's different." The alien voice was filled with terror. "This is refugee ship Hope's Light. The Kreks have found us. We have 10,000 children aboard. We cannot run anymore. Our engines are failing. If anyone can hear this, please help. We do not want to die." Jake felt something fierce awaken in his chest. Children. These aliens were calling for help to save their children. "Sam, patch me through to Admiral Collins. Priority 1. The Admiral's face appeared on the screen. "What is it, Captain?" "Sir, we need to move now. There's a refugee ship full of alien children under attack. We can't just sit here and listen to them die. Admiral Collins looked grim. Captain, I understand your feelings, but we can't risk starting an interstellar war. Sir, with respect, the war has already started. These Kreks are committing genocide. If we do nothing, we'll have to live with that forever. The Admiral was quiet for a long time. How long to reach their position? 18 hours at maximum speed. Do it. I'll deal with the politics later. But Jake, once you're committed, there's no going back. Earth is going to war. Jake felt the weight of history settle on his shoulders. Humanity was about to step onto the galactic stage, and their first act would be as warriors. Understood, sir. Tighten out. He turned to his crew. All hands. Battle. Stations. We're going to save some alien children. The UES Titan changed course and jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, Earth's military forces began to mobilize. Admiral Collins activated Operation Guardian Shield, calling up the 1st Deathworlder Battalion under Lieutenant Colonel Amy Rodriguez. Amy gathered her troops in the main briefing room. These were soldiers who had trained for combat on alien worlds, but never expected to fight alien enemies. Listen up, she said. We've got first contact, and it's not the peaceful meeting we all hoped for. There's a species out there being hunted to extinction. They call us Deathworlders because they're afraid of how good we are at killing things. Well, they're about to find out they were right to be afraid, just not of us. The soldiers looked at each other with grim determination. They had trained their whole lives for war. Now they would fight for people they had never met, to save children of a species they had never seen. Back on the Titan, Jake watched the hyperspace tunnel flow past the bridge windows. In a few hours, humanity would meet its first alien species. They would also meet their first alien enemy. He thought about the Villani children hiding in the darkness of space, waiting for monsters to find them. Not today, he decided. Not if Earth had anything to say about it. How long until we reach them? He asked. 16 hours, Captain, came the reply. Then we better be ready for a fight. The UES Titan dropped out of hyperspace near the Villani refugee ship. Captain Jake Morrison stared at the alien vessel on his main screen. It was beautiful in a strange way, all flowing curves and soft edges. It looked nothing like the angular, armored human ships. Captain, we're being scanned, reported Lieutenant Sam Collins. Very gentle scans, sir. They're not trying to probe our defenses or anything military. Dr. Lisa Cameron studied the readings. Their technology is advanced, but it's all peaceful. Applications. Look at this, Jake. They have incredible medical scanners, environmental systems, even what looks like art creation devices, but no weapons. None at all. A new voice came over the communication system. It was different from the distress calls they had heard before. Calmer, but still filled with fear. Unknown vessel. This is Ambassador Thera 5 of the refugee ship Hopes. Light. We detect your approach. Please, we mean no harm. We have only civilians aboard. Jake activated the communications array. Ambassador Thera 5, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Titan. We received your distress calls. We're here to help. The silence that followed lasted nearly a minute. When the alien spoke again, there was wonder in the translated voice. You came. You actually came. We never believed the Deathworlders would answer our calls. We prefer to be called humans, Jake said gently. Can we help with your ship repairs? Our engines are failing, but that is not our greatest fear. The Kreks Hunter ships are only hours behind us. When they arrive, they will kill everyone aboard our vessel. Jake felt his jaw tighten. Not while we're here, they won't. Ambassador, we'd like to come aboard your ship to meet you in person. Another long pause. You wish to board our vessel? With your weapons and your strength? Dr. Cameron touched Jake's arm. Captain, I think they're terrified of us. They know we're predators. Jake spoke carefully into the communicator. Ambassador, we give you our word that we mean no harm to you or your people. We only want to help. Your word, the alien repeated slowly. Yes, we have heard that Deathworlders have something called honor. Very well. You may send a small party, but please do not bring too many of your warriors. Commander Nick Bailey led the shuttle mission with Dr. Cameron and 4 Marines. As they approached the alien ship, they could see damage along its hull, blast marks from energy weapons. "Those aren't from accidents," one of the Marines said quietly. "Someone shot at them." The docking bay of the alien ship was enormous and filled with a soft, blue light. As their shuttle landed, hundreds of aliens gathered to watch. Jake could see them on the shuttle's cameras. "My God," Dr. Cameron whispered. "Look at them." The Villani were tall and graceful, standing nearly 8 feet high but built like reeds. Their skin was pale blue-green, and their large eyes reflected the light like mirrors. They moved with flowing motions, nothing like human movements. Ambassador. Thara 5 approached the shuttle as the humans emerged. The alien stopped several feet away and made a gesture that might have been a bow. "Welcome, humans of Earth. I am Thara 5, speaker for the Villani aboard this vessel." Nick Bailey stepped forward carefully. "Ambassador, I'm Commander Bailey. We're honored to meet you." The alien's large eyes studied the humans with obvious fear and curiosity. "You are smaller than we expected, but we can feel your strength. Your predator nature is evident in how you move, how you watch everything around you." Dr. Cameron activated her medical scanner. "Ambassador, may I study your biology? It will help us understand how to protect you." "You wish to learn our weaknesses?" Thara 5 asked. "No, we want to learn how to keep you safe." The alien considered this. "Very well. But first, you must understand what hunts us." Thara 5 led them through the ship's corridors. Thousands of Villani watched from doorways and balconies. Children clung to their parents, staring at the strange, compact aliens who walked with predatory grace. "The Kreks are reptilian beings," Thara 5 explained as they walked. "They evolved on a death world much like yours, but they chose a different path. Where you developed honor and protection of the weak, they became pure predators. They hunt other species for sport and slavery. They entered a large chamber filled with holographic displays. The images showed the destruction of Villani worlds, cities burning, ships fleeing, millions of aliens dead. This was our homeworld of Serenity Prime," Thara 5 said sadly. 30 billion Villani lived there. The Kreks killed half the population in the first day. Nick Bailey felt rage building in his chest. "How many of these attacks have there been?" 17 worlds in the past year. We estimate 200 billion dead." Dr. Cameron ran her scanners over Thara 5 with the alien's permission. What she found shocked her. "Commander," she said quietly, "their bone density is incredibly low. Their muscle structure is designed for grace, not strength. A human child could physically overpower this adult alien." "That cannot be correct," Thara 5 said, having overheard. "We know that Deathworlders are incredibly strong, but surely not that much stronger." Dr. Cameron showed them the readings. "Ambassador, what's the gravity on your homeworld?" "Gravity?" "I do not understand the term." It took several minutes to explain the concept. When Thara 5 finally understood, the alien became very still. "You mean to say that your world pulls you down with 3 times the force of ours?" "That's right, and our world is filled with predators. We had to become strong and fast to survive." "And your reaction time?" Dr. Cameron ran a simple test asking Thara 5 to respond to a light signal. The alien's reaction time was nearly 10 times slower than a human's. "This explains much," Thara 5 said slowly. "We have always wondered how Deathworlders could be so efficient at warfare. Your entire species is built for combat." Warning alarms suddenly filled the air. A Villani technician called out in their musical language. "What's happening?" Nick asked. "Kreks ships," Thara 5 said with terror in the translated voice. 3 hunter vessels, they have found us." Nick activated his communicator. "Captain Morrison, we have incoming hostiles. 3 ships approaching fast." Jake's voice crackled back. "Understood, Commander. Get back to your shuttle. We'll handle this." But as they ran toward the docking bay, Dr. Cameron stopped. "Wait. Ambassador, how many Kreks warriors are typically on each hunter ship?" "Perhaps 50 to 70 per vessel. They are large, nearly as large as you humans, but covered in scales and claws." Nick did quick math in his head. 200 Kreks, warriors against 1 human ship. On paper, it should be a fair fight, but he knew better. "Ambassador," he said grimly, You're about to see why the galaxy calls us Deathworlders. They reached the shuttle as the first Krex ship appeared on the alien vessel's view screens. It was dark and angular, covered in weapons and armor. It looked like it was built for one purpose: killing. "Volani vessel," came a harsh reptilian voice over the communications. "Prepare to be boarded. Your slaves will serve the Krex Empire." That's when Captain Morrison's voice cut across all frequencies. "Krex vessel, this is Captain Jake Morrison, of the United Earthship Titan. You will withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The Krex commander's laughter was like grinding metal. "Another prey species comes to die with the Volani. You will make good slaves as well." "I don't think you understand," Jake replied calmly. "This is your only warning." The first Krex ship opened fire on the Titan with everything it had. Energy beams and projectiles filled space around the human vessel. When the light cleared, the Titan was completely undamaged. "Our turn," Jake said. The UES Titan's response was swift and terrible. Captain Jake Morrison watched as his weapons officer unleashed a single railgun round at the lead Krex ship. The projectile, moving at a significant fraction of light speed, punched through the alien vessel's armor like paper. "Direct hit," reported the weapons officer. "Their shields didn't even slow it down." On the Volani refugee ship, Ambassador Thera 5 stared at the view screen in shock. The massive Krex hunter ship, which had seemed unstoppable, was now venting atmosphere and spinning out of control. "How is this possible?" Thera 5 whispered. "One shot destroyed a Krex hunter?" Commander Nick Bailey and Dr. Lisa Cameron watched from the alien bridge as the remaining two Krex ships suddenly changed tactics. Instead of pressing their attack, they began evasive maneuvers. "They're running," Nick observed. "Smart of them." But Captain Morrison wasn't done. "All fighters, launch immediately. I want those ships disabled, not destroyed. We need prisoners for questioning." 6 human fighters burst from the Titan's hangar bays. Captain Ryan Foster led the squadron with practiced ease. The small, fast ships moved through space like hunting pack animals. The Krex ships tried to escape, but they had been built for intimidating weaker species, not for fighting real predators. The human fighters swarmed around them like angry wasps. "Target. Their engines only," Foster ordered his pilots. "The captain wants them alive." The engagement lasted less than 5 minutes. Precise shots from the human fighters disabled the Krex ship's propulsion systems, leaving them drifting helplessly in space. "This is impossible," came the harsh voice of the Krex commander over the communications. "No species defeats Krex hunters so easily." Jake Morrison's voice was cold as ice. "You picked the wrong species to hunt, and you definitely picked the wrong day to threaten children." Back on the refugee ship, thousands of Volani had gathered to watch the battle. They stood, in complete silence, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. "In 5 minutes," Dr. Cameron said quietly, "one human ship destroyed 3 Krex hunters that have been terrorizing the galaxy." Thera 5 turned to look at the humans. "Your species frightens us greatly, but now we begin to understand why. You are not just predators. You are apex predators." Major Kate Sullivan led the boarding parties that secured the disabled Krex ships. She and her Marines moved through the alien vessels with tactical precision, their weapons ready for anything. The Krex warriors they encountered were indeed large and covered in scales, with claws and teeth that marked them as natural predators, but they had never faced anything like human soldiers. "Surrender now and you will not be harmed," Kate announced as her team entered the first ship's bridge. The Krex war leader, a massive reptilian being covered in battle scars, hissed at her. "Krex do not surrender to prey animals." "We're not prey," Kate said simply, and gestured to her Marines. The Krex learned very quickly that humans might be smaller than them, but human weapons, tactics, and coordination were far superior. Within minutes, all 3 ships were secured, with minimal casualties. War leader Skarks, the commander of the Krex force, found himself in the Titan's detention bay facing Captain Morrison. The reptilian alien was nearly 9 feet tall and built like a living tank, but he seemed small in the presence of the human captain. "You fight well for such tiny creatures," Skarks admitted grudgingly. But you do not understand what you have. Started. The Krex Empire has thousands of ships. Jake leaned back in his chair. Let me tell you something about humans, war leader. We've been fighting wars for thousands of years. We've gotten very good at it. Your empire might have thousands of ships, but we have something you don't. What is that? We fight for something other than ourselves. We fight to protect those who can't protect themselves. Skarks laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You think you can protect every weak species in the galaxy? You are only one world. One world, Jake agreed. But on that world live 7 billion apex predators who just learned that someone is hunting children across the stars. The Krex war leader's laughter died away as he considered the implications. Meanwhile, Dr. Cameron was working with Volani scientists to establish communications with other species. Word of the human intervention was spreading rapidly through alien communication networks. Doctor, said Zara 12, a Volani scientist, we are receiving messages from across the galaxy. Species we have never heard of are asking about the Deathworlders, who defeated the Krex. Lisa studied the incoming data. How many different species? At least 30 so far. Some are asking for protection. Others want to know if the rumors are true. A few are warning us that humans are too dangerous to trust. What do you think? Lisa asked. Zara 12 was quiet for a moment. You terrify us, she said honestly. Everything about your species is designed for warfare. Your reflexes, your strength, your technology, even the way you think. But you came when we called for help. You fought for our children when you had nothing to gain. Back on Earth, Admiral Peter Collins was dealing with the political implications of humanity's first interstellar conflict. The Joint Chiefs of Staff sat around a massive table, studying reports from the battle. So let me understand this, said General Linda Hayes. 3 alien warships that have been terrorizing the galaxy for months were defeated by one of our cruisers in under 10 minutes? That's correct, Admiral Collins replied. Captain Morrison reports that their technology is advanced but not designed for warfare. They're raiders, not soldiers. And now the entire galaxy knows we exist? Yes. And they're all talking about us. General Hayes leaned forward. What are they saying? That humanity is the most dangerous species they've ever encountered. They're calling us the ultimate Deathworlders. On the Volani refugee ship, Ambassador Thera 5 was conducting the first formal diplomatic meeting between humans and aliens. The conversation was being broadcast across the galaxy. We offer our eternal gratitude to the human species, Thera 5 said. You have saved 10,000 Volani children today. Commander Bailey nodded respectfully. We couldn't just stand by and watch innocents be slaughtered. This concept of protecting strangers is foreign to most galactic species. We protect our own people, but to risk your lives for aliens you have never met. This is remarkable. Not really, Bailey said. It's just the right thing to do. As news of the battle spread, other developments were taking place across the galaxy. On dozens of worlds, species that had lived in fear of Krex raids began to hope. And in the depths of space, Krex war fleets began changing course. War leader. Skark sat in his cell aboard the Titan, thinking about what he had witnessed. The humans had not killed him or his warriors when they could have. They provided medical care to the wounded Krex and treated their prisoners according to something they called the Geneva Convention. Your species is weak, he told Captain Morrison during an interrogation. You show mercy to enemies. You protect those who cannot protect themselves. These are the traits of prey, not predators. Jake smiled grimly. You still don't get it, do you? We don't fight because we're predators. We fight because someone has to stand between the monsters and the innocent. And when someone threatens children, we become the monster's worst nightmare. The war leader was quiet for a long time. Your empire will burn for this interference. We don't have an empire, Jake said. We have something better. We have allies. 3 weeks after the first battle, Admiral Peter Collins arrived in the Volani system with the full Earth fleet. The sight of 20 human dreadnoughts emerging from hyperspace sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. Captain Troy Henderson commanded the flagship UES Leviathan. a massive vessel that dwarfed even the largest Krex ships. As the human fleet took formation around the damaged Volani refugee vessels, alien observers across dozens of worlds watched in amazement. "Admiral," reported the communications officer, "we're receiving over 300 different transmissions from alien species. Some are asking for protection, others are demanding we leave their space, and a few are offering alliance." Admiral Collins studied the tactical display. Intelligence reports showed Krex battle fleets massing in 3 nearby systems, preparing for a massive counterattack. "The party is about to get started," he said grimly. "All ships, prepare for hostile contact." On the planet Serenity Prime, the Volani homeworld still under Krex occupation, General Linda Hayes led the first human ground assault. Her Marines landed under cover of orbital bombardment, their dropships cutting through the alien atmosphere like falling meteors. Lieutenant Chris Johnson and his squad hit the ground running. The Krex had turned the beautiful Volani cities into fortified strongholds, but they had never faced human urban warfare tactics. "Move fast, hit hard, and watch each other's backs," Johnson told his troops as they advanced through the alien city streets. The Krex defenders were expecting a frontal assault, the same tactics used by other galactic species. Instead, the humans used infiltration, flanking maneuvers, and coordinated strikes that left the reptilian warriors confused and scattered. "Where are they?" hissed a Krex commander over their communication network. "We had them surrounded, but now they attack from behind us." "Everywhere and nowhere," came the reply from another position. "These Deathworlders fight like shadows." In space above the planet, Navy Commander Helen Wright coordinated orbital strikes with surgical precision. Her targeting was so accurate that human forces could call for fire support from orbit while standing mere meters from civilian Volani. "Fire mission complete," she reported to Admiral Collins. "Enemy position neutralized. No civilian casualties." Dr. Lisa Cameron worked with liberated Volani to establish medical stations for the wounded. What she found disturbed her greatly. "Admiral," she reported via secure channel, "the Krex aren't just conquering these people, they're conducting experiments on them. Biological research, pain-tolerance studies, breeding programs." Admiral Collins felt his jaw clench. "Doctor, are you telling me they're treating sentient beings like laboratory animals?" "Worse than that, sir. They're enjoying it." The news of Krex atrocities spread quickly through human command channels. Soldiers who had been fighting with professional detachment began to fight with cold fury. Sergeant Danny Tucker led his squad through a Krex research facility, freeing hundreds of Volani prisoners. What they found in the alien laboratories would haunt them forever. "Sir," Tucker reported to his commanding officer, "we need medical teams here immediately. These aliens have been tortured for months." Meanwhile, in the depths of space, the largest Krex war fleet ever assembled was approaching the Volani system. War Admiral Thex commanded over 200 ships, including massive dreadnoughts that had never been defeated. "The humans have made their first mistake," Thex announced to his fleet commanders. "They have divided their forces. We will crush their ground troops, then destroy their ships." But War Admiral Thex had never fought an enemy that could coordinate between space and ground forces with such precision. As his fleet emerged from hyperspace, it walked straight into a trap. Admiral Collins had positioned his ships using human naval tactics developed over centuries of Earth's maritime warfare. The Krex found themselves caught in a crossfire between human dreadnoughts with no escape route. "All ships commence firing," Collins ordered. The space battle that followed became known as the Massacre of Serenity Prime. Human ships used coordinated fire control, electronic warfare, and tactical movement that the Krex had never encountered. Captain Henderson's Leviathan engaged 3 Krex dreadnoughts simultaneously, its advanced shields and armor absorbing everything the aliens could throw at it while returning devastating fire. "Their armor can't stop our kinetic rounds," reported the weapons officer. "It's like shooting through tissue paper." On the ground, the Krex forces found themselves under attack from human units that seemed to appear and disappear at will. Major Kate Sullivan's Special Forces had infiltrated the main Krex command center. "Target acquired," she whispered into her communicator as she lined up a shot on the Krex planetary commander. Taking the shot, The assassination of their ground commander threw the Krex forces into chaos. Without centralized leadership, their rigid command structure collapsed. But the most shocking moment came when a group of rescued Villani children approached a squad of human marines. The little aliens who had been terrified of their human rescuers slowly began to trust these strange Deathworlders who fought to protect them. "Why do you help us?" asked a young Villani through the translation device. "We are not your people." Corporal Mike Davis knelt down to the child's level. "Because it's the right thing to do, kid. Nobody hurts children while we're around." The image of heavily armed human soldiers gently caring for alien children spread across galactic communication networks. Species throughout the galaxy began to understand that these Deathworlders were different from the predators they had known. War Admiral Thex found his flagship surrounded by human vessels. His fleet was destroyed, his ground forces scattered, and his reputation ruined. "Surrender, and your crew will be treated according to our laws," Admiral Collins offered over the communication channel. "Krex do not surrender," Thex replied, but his voice lacked conviction. "Then you'll share the fate of your fleet," Collins said simply. In the end, Thex did surrender, becoming the highest-ranking Krex officer ever captured alive. His defeat sent shockwaves through the Krex Empire. As the battle ended, alien species across the galaxy watched the humans tend to their wounded, care for prisoners, and rebuild the destroyed Villani cities. This was unlike any conquest they had ever seen. "They fight like demons but heal like angels," observed Carrie 7, a Villani scientist. "How is this possible?" Dr. Cameron smiled sadly. "Because we've learned that the ability to destroy means nothing without the wisdom to protect and build." On Earth, the news of humanity's victory was met with mixed emotions. People were proud of their military success but sobered by the reality of galactic warfare. President Sarah Mitchell addressed the nation. "Today, humanity took its place among the stars not as conquerors, but as protectors. We have shown the galaxy that strength without compassion is meaningless." But in the depths of space, other alien empires were taking notice. Some began reaching out to Earth, seeking alliance with these powerful new players. Others began preparing for war, seeing humanity as a threat to their own expansion plans. The Krex Empire itself was in chaos. For the first time in their history, they had met a species that could outfight them. Panic spread through their military ranks as reports came in of human capabilities. "How do we fight an enemy that moves faster, thinks quicker, and hits harder than us?" asked a Krex general during an emergency war council. "We don't," replied the Empire's supreme war leader. "We negotiate." As Admiral Collins established a command post on liberated Serenity Prime, he received a priority message from an unexpected source. The Galactic Council, a group of peaceful species that had never contacted Earth before, was requesting an emergency meeting. "Admiral," reported his communications officer, "they want to discuss humanity's role in galactic affairs." Collins looked out at the ruins of the Villani city, where human engineers were already working alongside alien civilians to rebuild what the Krex had destroyed. "Tell them we'll talk," he said. "But we're not going anywhere. These people need protection, and they're going to get it." 6 months after the liberation of Serenity Prime, the first galactic assembly in over 1,000 years convened on the neutral world of Haven Station. Representatives from 47 different species gathered to discuss the most important question in galactic history: what to do about humanity. Ambassador Thera 5 stood before the assembled delegates, no longer the terrified refugee who had first met the humans. The Villani had appointed her as their chief diplomat, and she spoke with the authority of a species that had been saved from extinction. "Honored delegates," she began. "6 months ago, my people were dying. The Krex had murdered billions of us, across 17 worlds. We sent a desperate plea into the void, never expecting an answer. But the humans came." A ripple of unease went through the assembly. Many of the species present had heard reports about human military capabilities that seemed impossible to believe. "They came not for territory or resources," Thera 5 continued. "They came because children were in danger. And when they fought with a precision and power that saved my people. Council Speaker Vex Prime, representing the Antari Confederation, raised a tentacle. Ambassador Thera 5, we do not question that the humans helped your people, but their military capabilities concern us greatly. They destroyed Krex fleets that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. What happens when they decide we are their enemies? Before Thara 5 could answer, the chamber doors opened. Admiral Peter Collins entered wearing a formal Earth dress uniform. Behind him walked Captain Jake Morrison, Dr. Lisa Cameron, and a small diplomatic team. The chamber fell silent. Many of the aliens had never seen humans in person. Collins was struck by the incredible diversity of life in the galaxy, species that looked like walking plants, crystalline beings that communicated through light patterns, and graceful aquatic creatures in mobility suits. Honored delegates, Collins said, his voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. I am Admiral Peter Collins of the United Earth Defense Force. We come today not as conquerors or threats, but as neighbors who want to live in peace. A delegate that looked like a giant butterfly fluttered its wings nervously. Admiral Collins, your species destroyed 300 Krex warships in the space of 6 months. Your ground forces conquered fortified planets in days. How can you claim to be peaceful? Collins looked directly at the delegate. Because we had a choice. We could have glassed every Krex world from orbit. We could have enslaved their population or wiped them out entirely. Instead, we captured their war criminals, freed their prisoners, and offered surrender terms to their military. But you did defeat them utterly, pressed Council Speaker Vex Prime. What prevents you from doing the same to us? Dr. Cameron stepped forward. If I may address the assembly, she said politely. I've spent the last 6 months studying galactic species and cultures. Do you know what I've learned? The delegates waited silently. Every peaceful species in this room evolved on worlds with light gravity and abundant resources. You developed art, philosophy, and science because you never needed to develop warfare. You're all remarkably intelligent, creative, and civilized. And humans? Asked the butterfly delegate. Humans evolved on a death world. Heavy gravity, extreme weather, and predators that could kill us easily. We had to become strong, fast, and aggressive to survive. But we also learned something else: cooperation. The only way humans survived was by working together to protect each other. Captain Morrison spoke up. That's why we helped the Villani, not because we wanted to fight the Krex, but because working together to protect the innocent is what makes us human. War leader Skarks was brought before the assembly in restraints. The massive Krex warrior had been captured during the final battle for the Krex capital world. His presence caused fear among many of the peaceful delegates. War leader, Collins addressed him, tell the assembly what you told us about human warfare. Skarks's reptilian features showed grudging respect. The humans fight unlike any species we have encountered. They coordinate perfectly, adapt instantly, and show no fear. But more than that, they fight for principles we do not understand. What principles? Asked Council Speaker Vex Prime. They fight to protect those who cannot protect themselves. They take prisoners when they could kill. They rebuild what they destroy. They are predators with the hearts of prey animals. The assembly was quiet as they considered this. Finally, an elderly delegate that resembled a walking tree spoke up. If we accept humanity into galactic society, what assurances do we have that they will not become the new Krex? Admiral Collins stood silent for a moment, then activated a holographic display. It showed human forces across dozens of worlds, working alongside alien civilians to rebuild infrastructure, treat the wounded, and establish peaceful governments. This is what humanity does after we win a war, he said simply. We heal. Ambassador Thera 5 took the floor again. Delegates, I have lived among humans for 6 months. I have seen their soldiers risk their lives to save alien children they had never met. I have seen their doctors work without rest to heal former enemies. I have seen their engineers rebuild our cities with no thought of payment. She paused, looking around the chamber. Yes, they are the most dangerous species any of us have ever encountered. But they are dangerous to those who prey upon the innocent. For those who seek peace, they are the greatest protectors we could hope for. The vote, when it came, was unanimous. Humanity was invited to join the Galactic Council, with a special mandate to defend peaceful species from aggressive expansion. Admiral Collins accepted on behalf of Earth. We pledge to use our strength only in defense of those who cannot defend themselves. We will not seek territory or dominance. We ask only for the chance to stand alongside you as equals. Dr. Cameron established the first human embassy on Haven Station, but it was unlike any diplomatic facility in galactic history. It included a military training center where peaceful species could learn basic defense techniques. We can't turn you into warriors, explained Colonel Amy Rodriguez to a class of nervous Villani recruits, but we can teach you how to protect yourselves and your families. The program was voluntary, but applications poured in from across the galaxy. Species that had lived in fear for centuries finally had hope. Captain Morrison took command of the new Human Protection Fleet, a joint force of Earth vessels and alien support ships. Their mission was to respond to distress calls from anywhere in the galaxy. Remember, he told his officers, we're not just representing Earth anymore. We're representing the idea that the strong should protect the weak. On Earth, the news of humanity's new role was met with pride and determination. President Sarah Mitchell announced the formation of the Galactic Defense Academy, where young humans would train alongside alien species to become protectors of galactic peace. We have been given a great responsibility, she told the world. The galaxy looks to us not as rulers, but as guardians. We must be worthy of that trust. But the most significant change came in how the galaxy itself began to evolve. Species that had been isolated by fear began to cooperate. Trade routes that had been abandoned due to piracy were reopened under human protection. Scientific research expanded as species shared knowledge without fear of military exploitation. The Krex Empire, defeated but not destroyed, slowly began to change as well. Under human supervision, they dismantled their slave camps and began paying reparations to their victims. Some younger Krex even applied to join the new Galactic Defense Force. Change is possible, war leader Skarks told Admiral Collins during one of their meetings. Even for predators like my people. But it requires something we never had, a reason to be better. Dr. Cameron published her research on human exceptionalism, but her conclusions surprised many. Humans aren't special because we're better fighters, she wrote. We're special because we chose to fight for others instead of ourselves. As the first year of the new galactic order came to an end, Ambassador Thera 5 stood once again before the Galactic Assembly. But this time, she was not alone. Representatives from dozens of species stood with her, no longer living in fear. 1 year ago, she said, my people sent a desperate plea into the darkness of space. We called for help from the Deathworlders, never knowing if anyone would answer. Today, because of that answer, billions of beings across the galaxy sleep, safely in their homes. She looked toward the human delegation. We called them Deathworlders because we feared their power. Now we call them something else. Friends. Admiral Collins smiled as he looked out at the assembly. Somewhere in the vast galaxy, there were probably other threats emerging, other species that needed protection. But humanity would be ready. They had found their purpose among the stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians. Captain Morrison's voice crackled over the communication system from his patrol ship. Admiral, we're receiving a distress signal from the Outer Rim. Unknown aggressors, attacking civilian transports. Collins activated his communicator. All units prepare for immediate deployment. We have people to protect. As the human fleet jumped to hyperspace, other species across the galaxy felt something they had never known before. The knowledge that someone was watching over them, someone who would come when they called for help. The age of fear was ending. The age of protection had begun.